This is a Phantom Thoughts RPG a Day 2025 episode. For this year, for RPG a Day, I will attempt to use the prompts to create elements of an adventure module. So hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have everything you need that you put together party characters and go on an adventure. RPG a Day 2025, Day 7 Journey. So going on a journey in a fantasy RPG, what kind of things would you need to outfit an expedition? Well, you need manpower. In addition to the PCs themselves, you could probably have, if they're higher level PCs, henchmen, other level characters coming along. You could have hirelings, including people who do the work portions of the expedition, driving wagons, managing animals, managing supplies. Perhaps they go someone who carries light sources to go into the dungeon with the PCs if they're braver folks, and of course possibly man-at-arms types who provide extra combat power for the PCs. And of course, you need food and water for all these folks. You're going to need transportation, whether you're mostly traveling on foot, but if you're probably going to be carrying supplies, you're probably going to be carrying them in a wagon. Perhaps the expedition is mounted if you have sufficient resources available to you to start. And you're going to need, for the actual dangers of the expedition, you're going to need weapons and armor. You're going to need expendables like arrows and light sources, unless you're high enough level to have magical light sources that are dependable all of the time. And then, of course, there's the matter of how are you going to find the way for this expedition? Those two primary sources would be maps and guides. So maps of where your destination is, of the general area, of the path you're going to follow, and guides who know the route you're traveling or the area you're going to and what dangers and resources are available there. Where can you stop safely? Are there towns and villages you can stop in? Are there safe places you can camp in the woods? What would you be, what would threaten you while you were in that area if you decided to camp? Some of these decisions are going to be affected by how long of a journey will it be, and what type of terrain will you be encountering? What type of roads will there be on? Are they well maintained? Are they just dirt paths, animal paths? What are we looking at? The path that they are taking is probably an unusual one, specifically for this adventure, because otherwise there would have been an earlier expedition. There would have been a reason to already send someone. But they probably had to come up with a reason to mount a caravan to the general area, enabling a group like the PCs to peel off from that caravan to go to the former lair of the Lamia noble. And in fact, it may be the prep work leading up to this caravan being to an entirely different realm or region that has made the mayor suspicious, that has made the rival merchants wonder what this merchant knows that they don't know about this area. Possibly it has a reputation for being dangerous because people had probably gone there and disappeared. If there were Lamia in the area, there are probably other monsters as well, as they might be the only ones that could sufficiently exist around the Lamia area the Lamia are in. And in fact, the original expedition that the merchant was on, probably the merchant may have been the only one to come back, or a handful did out of the entire expedition, meaning there was great danger because most of that caravan was lost. So there's a question of what threats would the Lamia noble about in the area? What creatures would they have known were in the area before they left? And particularly, if they were forced to leave, what creatures do they believe are in control of the area around their lair or their lair itself? Could the PCs find someone else who is knowledgeable of the area before they leave off? How far does the influence of this city, this town, go? And what supplies and manpower are available? Now, I think since we're positing an adventure where there are multiple rival merchants in the area, it's probably a well-established city, a fairly wealthy city, something that's on some major trade routes already, but that they are also exploring into the wilderness, looking for alternate routes to locations they know or alternate routes to sources they haven't found yet. Perhaps much like the conquistadors of the early exploration of the Americas by the Spanish, they've chased rumors of cities of gold and fountains of youth and things of that nature in this area, because most of the more mundane routes have been snapped up and deals have been made. And so those opportunities are not there anymore. So they're looking for alternative sources of wealth. So I think based on that, this may even be a city state, a good sized city with a lot of influence in the land around it, politically and religiously, culturally, and that, its primary source of wealth is trade. So it's probably on at least one river nearby. Perhaps it's near the coast, and so there's a seaport portion of it, and then there's rivers that drain down into the city from there. And so a lot of their trade routes go that way. So I think it would have some influence for some distance around it. So let's ask a couple of questions here. Is this indeed a city-state that has a fairly wide amount of influence to it? I'm going to say this is mostly positive and I get a simple yes. So yes, this is a city-state, and it does have a influence, probably a couple of days journey away in all directions. Well, let's say the city-state itself is a couple of days journey in every direction, and then from there, it still has some level of influence beyond that, but it has its actual political boundaries, as it were, are a couple of days journey out. It's probably mostly plains in the area where the city is and the agriculture around it, but would it be more rugged once you get beyond the boundaries itself? And there I got a plus and a minus, which I'm treating as yes, but. So it does get more rugged, but we'll say that there are rivers, so it's more navigable by boat, so it's easier to get through, say, the hilly terrain around it than it normally would be if it were just pure hills. So then one last question, another question, will the PCs be going into the more rugged version, possibly even encountering some mountains? And for this, we get another simple yes. So at some point, they will probably, as they go towards where they get to peel off from the caravan, have to go into a mountainous region and seek out the Lamionoble's former lair there. So the last thing we'll say is, how many days journey will this caravan be going, and how soon onto that will the PCs peel away? So I'm going to roll a D24. I'm going to say it's a long-term caravan, so up to possibly a month almost. So rolling the D24, we get a 16. So it's a 16-day journey, and we're going for the PCs. I'm going to roll a D10 and a D4. How far along before they peel off? And it's going to be 10 days in. So they're going to travel 10 days. The first couple of days will be fairly comfortable, and they'll probably, I guess the last question is, will they be traveling mostly along a river? So that would mean that they could utilize boats for part of their expedition at least until they peel off. And that is a double negative result. So not only are they not going to be traveling by river, they're probably traveling through a very area that has a very reputation of being dangerous and rugged as well. So I'm going to finish off rolling on some terrain. I'm going to use some dice that are based on Hex Flower for terrain generation by Goblin's Henchman. and he took that hex flower and determined kind of what it would need to be on a set of 6 dice that you roll on, and you roll the die, the primary type that you're leaving, and see what kind of terrain you go into. And there's different values of terrain types on the dice depending on where your previous hex was. So I'm going to say about 4 days out, they get into the initial rugged terrain, which will be just basically hills. And we're going to see if they are further what the next hex in the journey is. We get more hills for that journey. And then we roll again. And this time we get some type of desert or wasteland. So we will change dice to that type. More wasteland on the next leg of the journey, which is the 8th day. They'll be at the end of that hex. And then a question mark. So the question mark on the die means some sort of special location. So I'm not going to ponder what that is. I'm just going to keep rolling the dice, and we may get to that with another prompt. And now we're getting some, what is that? That is rough terrain. So rough terrain on the, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the 10th day. So this is the spot where they will peel off. So let's roll to see the direction the party peel. Well, let's finish rolling to see where the caravan is going. Then we'll see where the PCs are going. We got more rough terrain. Still more rough terrain. More rough terrain still. Another spot of wasteland. Oh, let's go to the wasteland die for the next one. And then finally finishing off in some wasteland. Let's make sure that's right. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Nope, that is not right. Caravan wasteland and rough terrain. So they finish off in some rough terrain at the end of their caravan, wherever it is that they're going. Now the PCs peel off on day 10. So they're going to go off in another direction, and I'm just going to pick a random direction here and roll for them. More rough terrain for them. And we got a forest. And we got, oh, nope, that's the wrong die. Pick up the forest die. First time I rolled this one. And we got hills again. So a group of hills. So PCs have traveled 3 days. And now the final one, well, not necessarily the final one. Oh, it is the final one. Must be because I got mountains. So that's going to be the location of the stronghold. So the PCs will depart, and 4 days later, they will encounter the Lamia's Noble's former lair. There is that mystery hex. We've got some wasteland or desert locations. So some interesting terrain, and it'll be interesting to see what they come across as they journey. And that's going to finish it up for today. The opening theme of this podcast was Strength of the Titans, and the closing music is Late Night Radio, both from Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. If you have any thoughts or feedback, you can get in touch with me by leaving me a voice message on my Google Voice number, 864-209-1441. That's 864-209-1441. Or through SpeakPipe at www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. That's www.speakpipe.com/Phantom Thoughts. Or you can send me a message or an audio file on Discord, where I can be found the Pink Phantom, or through email phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. That's phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. I don't have to play or read your feedback on the podcast if that is not your preference. Just let me know.